Help me to reach 2,000 subscribers. The first thing I remember from that night is the sound of laughter echoing down the marble hallway. It wasn't mine. It was deeper, masculine, rich with something I couldn't name. And then I remember my own reflection in the gilded mirror. Red lips, trembling slightly, eyes that looked braver than I felt. The invitation had been discreet, whispered among a few wives from the gym who seemed to live for secrets. "It's not what you think," one of them had said with a knowing smile. "It's just a place where you can forget who you are for a few hours." I had laughed it off at first. But that night, with my husband, Ryan, working late again and my thoughts looping around our silent dinners and his distant eyes, I found myself in front of that mirror, slipping on a dress he hadn't seen before. I told myself it was curiosity, that I wasn't going to do anything wrong, that it was just a party. The room I entered was low-lit and heavy with perfume. Music thumped like a heartbeat, and around me, women mingled with strangers, faces half hidden behind masks. Someone handed me a glass of champagne, and I took it, my hand shaking slightly. The bubbles stung my throat. Then I saw him. He wasn't particularly handsome, but his eyes held the kind of attention I hadn't felt in months. Sharp, undivided, dangerous. We talked about nothing and everything. His voice was slow and deliberate, as if he knew exactly how to keep me there. I told myself I'd leave after one drink, then another, then after one dance. By the time I stepped outside into the cold night air, the guilt had already begun to creep in, quiet and poisonous. When I came home, Ryan was asleep on the couch, still in his work clothes. His phone was on the table beside him, buzzing with unread messages. I stood there for a moment, watching the soft rise and fall of his chest, and something twisted inside me. I wanted to tell him, but the words died before they reached my lips. The next morning, he was warm and distant as always. "You got in late," he said casually, not looking up from his coffee. "Yeah," I replied, forcing a smile. "Dinner with the girls went long." He nodded, and that was it. No suspicion, no anger, just indifference. That hurt more than if he had yelled. Days turned into weeks, and the secret settled between us like smoke. I told myself it was over, that it had meant nothing. But every time I looked at Ryan, the guilt shimmered in my chest. He'd always been loyal, steady, a man who worked hard for everything he had. I, on the other hand, was starting to feel like a stranger in my own marriage. Then, one Friday evening, he came home early. I was in the kitchen, scrolling through messages on my phone, when his voice cut through the silence. "Who's Daniel?" I froze. He was standing by the doorway, holding my phone. My breath caught in my throat. Daniel. The man from the party. The one who had messaged me a few times afterward. Nothing explicit, just enough to keep the memory alive. "I don't know what you mean," I managed, my voice trembling. His eyes, usually calm and patient, were cold now. "You've been talking to him. Don't lie to me." Something inside me cracked. "It wasn't what you think," I whispered. "It was just. I was lonely. You're never here anymore, Ryan. We barely talk. I just wanted to feel something again." He laughed, a sound that didn't belong to him. "So you went to a party full of men? That's how you felt something?" The way he said it, like he already knew, made my blood run cold. "How do you know about that?" I asked quietly. He didn't answer. He just stared at me, his jaw clenched. Then he reached into his pocket and tossed something onto the counter. A small black flash drive. "I hired someone," he said flatly. "A private investigator. He followed you that night." My knees went weak. "Ryan, please." I watched the footage. His voice broke slightly then, softer but sharper, like glass. "You weren't just dancing, Lily." Tears blurred my vision. The room felt smaller, suffocating. I didn't sleep with anyone. I swear to you, I didn't. I just needed to remember what it felt like to be seen. He shook his head slowly. "You didn't need to be seen, Lily. You needed to be honest." Silence filled the room, thick and endless. I wanted to reach for him, to take his hand, to say something that would fix the moment, but there was nothing left to say. That night, he slept in the guest room. The next morning, he was gone. No note. Just his ring left on the kitchen counter beside a cup of cold coffee. 4 days, I wandered the house like a ghost. Every room smelled like him. Every photo felt like a lie. The guilt didn't fade. It grew, swallowing me whole. I replayed everything in my mind. The laughter, the champagne, the dance. The look on his face when he said, "You didn't need to be seen." 2 weeks later, I received an email. No subject line. Just a single line of text. "Now you know how it feels." Attached was a video. My heart pounded as I clicked play. Ryan sat at a bar with a woman I didn't recognize. She was leaning close, laughing softly, touching his hand. The camera shook slightly, as if filmed by someone passing by. Then the video cut off. For a long moment, I just stared at the screen. My throat tightened. Part of me wanted to rage, to scream that he was no better than me. But deep down, I knew. This was his revenge. His way of showing me what betrayal looked like from the other side. That night, I sat alone in the dark, clutching my phone, the silence pressing against my ears. I typed a message, "I'm sorry," then deleted it. Typed it again. Deleted it again. He didn't need my words anymore. He already had his closure. I was the one left behind, haunted by the sound of that first laugh echoing down the marble hallway, the one that started everything. The sound that now felt like it had been laughing at me all along. And in that moment, I finally understood. Sometimes betrayal isn't about what you do. It's about the piece of yourself you give away, and can never take back.